G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning up in the north side of the map, we've got Vortex, who is playing the Holy Roman Empire. On the other side of the map, towards the southwest side, we've got the Mister, who is playing as the French. This is game number 3 in the series between these two players, part of N4C. If you wouldn't like to be spoiled, then I encourage you, make sure you go check out the 2 videos before this one, because they are both of the games that happened before this one. Otherwise, spoiler alert, because the Mister won last game, and this is Vortex's home map. So, let's talk a little bit about what we've got going on so far. Already got the double scout coming out from the Mister. He is looking to take control of the map nice and early. On the other side of the map, though, Vortex not going to be doing the same thing. Just going to be getting out the single prelate. Just going to be using the single scout that he was given at the very beginning of the game, and focusing on his economy. So let's talk a little bit about what we're expecting to unfold this game. So to me already, from the Mister, the fact that he's gone for 2 scouts, to me that indicates he's going to be going professional scouts. When it comes to the Holy Roman Empire, obviously they are going to want to secure a food source as well. It's going to be difficult for them to do it going up against the French. The French are really in pole position here. They've got a great early game that enables them to have that power, but take a look at what we've already got coming out right here. We have got an Age 1 barracks getting dropped down nice and early, and have a look at that. That's heading right towards the middle of the forest, not the middle of the forest, but the edge of the forest here for Vortex. So already we've got some shenanigans happening. You know, typically you would have expected just a little bit of, oh, I'm just going to do my standard 2 scouts into professional scouts and get like a royal night out, like maybe hit your villagers up once or twice. No, that is not what we've got. We've got shenanigans. Now let's have a look and see if Vortex is prepared for this, if he's ready for it. Not really. If anything, I'd say he's probably should be a little bit concerned. This lumber camp is very easily able to be isolated. This is going to be a massive issue. So basically, Mister is going to be able to park a scout right here on the edge of the town center radius or range of fire, and then he'll be able to put an outpost right here. Right on the edge, and the scout's gonna be able to spot around the corner, and the outpost is just gonna simply fire. So he'll probably be able to fit the outpost right here, and you can see him now scouting that up, and he's seeing it, and he's going, oh, beauty. This is looking very good, but he does obviously notice the Archon Chapel placement as well. He's going to be taking a very keen look at where all the resource placements are for Vortex, probably looking towards that gold mine as well. So one of the things that we've seen players do is look to isolate the gold mine, prevent the enemy from really trying taking as much gold as they can. Now, obviously, Vortex knows that his enemy has aged up, and he's still got that 1 villager on gold, so you can already see him harassing that. So that's probably going to be where the target is, and indeed, he spots the spearman already coming out. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is looking to rush this up, and it does seem that he is indeed doing that. 5 villagers now, looking to get up that Archon Chapel. It's a pretty decent Archon Chapel here. My main concern is it doesn't have any decent wood lines within it, and it's unfortunately not the best spawn for him. I mean, your other alternative was to come out here, but obviously he's playing as the he's playing as the Holy Roman Empire, and you kind of need gold. So yeah, unfortunate for him, but now it looks like we've got Mister already putting down that outpost. Villager going out to just give him a little bit of a stab, but unfortunately that's not going to be nearly enough, and now it looks like these units coming in to reinforce back towards the base of Mister. We'll take a look and see how the resource gathering is going. 9 villagers at the moment on food. My main concern is that Mister might be running out of sheep sometime soon, so he's going to need to head back towards his base with that nice little haul of sheep. He's only got 1 out there actually, but probably going to have to expand out with the mill, and indeed he is already doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him actually go into professional scouts from that as well. It would make a lot of sense, just considering how much food he's already spent. But we'll wait, we'll see how he plays it. Vortex now reaching the 2nd age, already dropping down a barracks himself. Very curious decision here going for a barracks. Now, obviously, you know, people would probably be thinking, all right, well, let's just go for an archery range because archers counter spearmen. Vortex not so much though. He said, you know what, I'm going to go with the barracks. Now, obviously, the Holy Roman Empire, they're a civilization that has access to the men-at-arms a little bit earlier than other civilizations, with the ability to train it in the 2nd age rather than the 3rd age. So, oh god, are you guys seeing that? Is that tree wigging out like crazy? Or is that just me? I reckon that tree is absolutely going bonkers right now. All right. He couldn't decide whether he was a very fluid tree, wasn't he? He was just like, I'm left, I'm right, I'm up, I'm down. He couldn't decide, but he's worked it out now. House going to be going down as well here for Vortex. He's got the Prelate inside the Archon Chapel. And Mr. going to be scouting him out as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see Mr. beginning to move. Now, obviously, this outpost did go up. It's probably going to get arrow slits in it shortly. But another outpost coming down right here, which is exactly what we're going to see. And then Mr. obviously is going to be having plenty of line of sight. Now we begin to see that Man-at-Arms scooping around the bottom, coming around the bottom, shuffling around the bottom. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but going to be going up against the spear. And you can see how much damage he's actually taking here. It's only about 3 damage a pop here. These spears only do 6 damage. The early Man-at-Arms, he's got 3 melee armor, so it's only 3 damage. So he doesn't really get hurt that badly, but still probably would lose that fight going up against 4 spears. But now a little bit of a wall coming in at the back, and I think Vortex knows how important it is to secure this wood line. And we can actually see he's almost completely off wood here. In fact, he is completely off wood. Only going for food, and now going to be looking to bust this outpost at the back. A bit of a mistake coming in from Mr. Something that you rarely see. Now, obviously, he's somewhat overplayed his hand in that he's going for these early outposts. Hasn't done what is very common, and that is to go for the arrow slits. Normally, that's what you see the Mongol players do. Mr. still sitting in Age 1 at the moment, so not going to have access to those arrow slits. Didn't leave any units inside, and the villagers get a free outpost. Managed to secure up the gold mine. Mr. probably going to be a little bit upset with himself. He did have the upper hand. He was able to stop that gold mine from being gathered, and you can now see the arrow slits coming up for him in this initial outpost as well. But the big issue that he's going to have is, as you can see, the walls that are coming down right now for Vortex are really going to give him a lot of... Oh my god, those are Mr.'s walls. Oh my god, those are Mr.'s walls. That's not a good thing. Okay, if Mr. is in control of these... I can't believe it took me that long to realize. I was looking at it from the perspective of Vortex. I'm like, why doesn't he have line of sight down there? That's weird. Why can't he see those walls? But you can actually see that Mr., when you're walling in between these tree lines, you have the unfortunate consequence of villagers being able to chop through, and you can see a single villager has come up here, has chopped away at this tree, and then the response has just been, well, I'm just going to march all my Men-at-Arms through, and now they're able to hold down this space. So if he wasn't able to hold down this space, what it would mean is that there could potentially be an outpost that would come down right here and would be able to hold it down and force out any of those villagers that were around this area, especially once that arrow slits comes in. You can see the range on this as well. Very, very large range. And obviously he can leapfrog those up as well. You know, there's nothing that stops him from deleting a wall or putting a gate in the wall and then moving up and then adding a new one here. And that can be really difficult to deal with, really annoying to deal with as well. But we'll check in with Vortex. We'll see how he's doing. You can see he's actually heading towards the Castle Age. A little bit slower than what he would have hoped, but obviously he's been delayed by his opponent. We now see the first Royal Knight coming out of the game as well. Bit of a charge coming out. He's forcing that villager back. He doesn't want him to begin building this foothold on the front line. And now the Men-at-Arms are going to be chasing around the Spearmen in some circles. Spearmen themselves are looking to try and repel that Royal Knight. But yeah, unfortunately not having a lot of luck there, Mr. We'll check down on his position and see what he is up to, though. So opening up with an archery range as well. So we've got the 1-1-1 coming out from the Mr. And he's managed to go quite a far way through this wood line already. So probably going to be having to add a lumber camp in there shortly. I'm curious to see whether he's gone for an early wheelbarrow as well. Doesn't look like it. So I say as well, and that's only because of the earlier games in the series. But in this game, I don't think Vortex has actually gone for a wheelbarrow. We'll have to double check. I suspect not. No, he has not. But he's going to be dropping down that Regnitz Cathedral now. And as is the appropriate thing to do, when a Regnitz Cathedral gets dropped, it is compulsory. You must check the runes on the map and see. Or did I say the runes on the map? The relics on the map. The runes? What are the runes? I'm trying to think. That's Dota 2, right? Like a double damage rune. Yeah, they got all that, like haste rune, all that crazy stuff. Anyway, let's check the relics. Let's see how they're doing. All right, so first 2 relics, very nice and close here to Vortex's base. Second 2 relics, relatively close to Mr. Third relic in the middle here, or 5th relic rather in the middle. Yeah, relics looking pretty even, to be honest. I'd be happy with this distribution if I was either player. Yeah, the main issue that Vortex is going to have is that Mr. looks to have pretty solid control of the area surrounding his base. If we take a look from the perspective of Mr., he's obviously got the whole front just completely walled in with regard to his outpost. So he might be able to secure up 2 of those relics, but the third one might be a bit harder. He's going to have to run a little bit of a weirder angle, so we'll have to see how he plays it. Now, when it comes to Mr., he's not actually looking at going up to the next age. And that can always be a very dangerous thing to do when you're playing against the Holy Roman Empire, because there's a couple of different ways that you can play against the Holy Roman Empire, but I would say the most common or the most widely accepted is to deny relics. And already we can see those prelates moving up towards the north. So by denying relics, oh, there we go. First prelate going to be going down. Second prelate looking to get lined up. Doesn't actually happen. The spears do come out of the woodwork and force those knights off. A little bit of a camera misclicking. I still don't know why that bug hasn't been fixed. Really annoying. I should probably call it out every time it happens, just so that the developers actually get onto it. You know, I'd recommend that. I'm sure some people would be like, Drongo, you got to write a forum post for that. You're funny. You're funny. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about denying these relics. So obviously, Mister is aware of this relic up towards the north. I don't know if he's not aware of this relic down here, so he's not going to be able to deny that one, but is aware of this relic in the middle. Now, Vortex, on the other hand, he's aware of these 3 relics, so he's located them. But now towards the front of the base, it looks like Vortex is going to be diving in here. Now, keep in mind, he's gone to the Castle Age, so he's going to be having these nicer men-at-arms. They've got 1 extra armor, they've got a couple extra attack, and they've got a bit more health on them, so they are spicy meatballs. You don't want to be messing with them, and there it happens again twice. I don't know why it does that. But a Wallalol up towards the north here, looking to take out those knights before it manages to go down, and unfortunately not going to be successful there. He's got another prelate nearby, and the scout doing such great work. I will talk a little bit about that in a short while, but now it looks like the men-at-arms going to be forcing their way back as well. And a beautiful opening here from the Mister. The fact, I really do like these outposts that he's got on the front line here, just putting down a defensive line here. But one of the things that is really well done by Mister is keeping a scout with his knight. So the knight's going to do the killing, and the scout is going to do, well, you guessed it, the scouting. But now we'll take a look at the battle as it unfolds, and it does look like he's managed to get the mace upgrade here. So getting in a little bit more damage against those Royal Knights, going to be able to use them as pseudo spearmen. With the amount of damage that they're going to be able to do. And it's going to be very hard for these archers to be able to hold on just because they're only doing 1 damage per shot against these men-at-arms. So you would need 155 shots against these. Now, that's on the condition you don't get any blacksmith upgrades. If we check the base of the Mister, we will see that there is another stable going up. It doesn't look like any blacksmith has gone up just yet, but you guys know I am legally blind. It could be up there somewhere. Villager getting taken out here by a scout. Nice little job there from Vortex. But yeah, a really smart move there from Mister was to keep a scout with his Royal Knight, because it meant that after that first prelate was taken down, he was able to locate the second prelate very, very quickly and able to force it to move back. So it's a very smart move there from Mister. Looks like the first relic of the game is going to be coming in now. I will note that this eastern side hasn't been walled up yet. We now have the next prelate moving out towards this relic down here. He should be absolutely safe. I don't think he's going to have any issues with that. Interestingly, if Mister had just walled this up, it would have made it so much more difficult for Vortex. He would have had to turn his attention up here. You know, it would have meant Mister would have been able to come through here and put up a defense, you know, maybe get an outpost up. But you can see that he's actually got an outpost up behind these walls now. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. If he wants to creep, he's going to be able to do that. He's going to be able to move up these outposts, so go from this position up to here, eventually get over the walls and just be really annoying. And you can see how far back Vortex is actually cutting this wood. So he's moved from this initial lumber camp back towards this lumber camp. He's had to get rid of this one because his villagers were under attack, and now he's back over here. But looks like he's managed to pick up his second relic. He's going to be in a great position with that second relic. The second relic really going to enable him to just have a lot of security in that early to mid game. But one of the things that does concern me, you're going up against France and you've got villagers that are very, very dangerously positioned. But I'll be honest, if there was a map to do it, it is this map, because the likelihood that your enemy has uncovered them, very, very low. So typically what happens, right, think about a normal map, right? Like let's say Arabia. What does your scouting pattern look like? Well, you would, come out, you'd scout in this direction, you'd scout down, and you would uncover all that area. But the problem is on Highview, is that your scout just doesn't have the line of sight that it normally has. And as a result, it means it's got to run a lot longer than otherwise, and a little bit of an overrun happening now from the prelate. Prelate, you got to get back to the Regnitz, my friend. I don't think you're planning on doing any Wallalols out here. Those towers or those outposts look beautiful. What is he doing with this outpost? The prelate's going to get taken down here if he's not careful. A little bit of a mistake coming out here from Vortex. Are my eyes doing me justice right now? What is going on? This prelate needs to put down its damn relic. Get the hell back there, prelate. And now I'm going to be actually throwing it away. What are you doing out here, Vortex? This is a huge mistake coming in from Vortex, and I hope this doesn't cost him. I think he's finally realized now. Going to be heading back towards his base and probably going, oh my god, I'm glad I managed to get that back in time. That could have been absolutely terrible. Mr. was heading out there to deny him from that position and to potentially deny that relic, and very, very fortunately, he does wake up. He does catch it, but Mr. now going to be going up to the next stage as well. Guildhall coming down for him, and you can see that Mr. is at the moment just camping these relics. So got the Royal Knight sitting on the first relic up here. This relic is a little bit safe, and he has uncovered this relic down towards the south, but yet to secure them up, and I think that's quite dangerous if I'm honest. Playing up against a player like Vortex, I would expect things like, you know, going for those far relics first. I really wouldn't be surprised. Mr. now reaching the castle age, 15 minutes, not a bad time. He manages to take out a couple of villagers here on the gold mine. It looks like 2 did go down. Prelate coming out a little bit late here, but the outpost of Vortex not going to be particularly successful. Men-at-Arms now beginning to push out. Still no +1 at the moment for Mr. And we can see that movement speed upgrade coming in. They've got quite a nice movement speed on them there. You can see 1.24 going up against the 1.25. So they'll get outrun by the archers over a quarter mile, that's for sure. But in the short term, it's not going to matter that much. And I love the way that the Prelate jogs. He really looks like an old fella, doesn't he? He really looks like he's, you know, pushing on his 60s. Like, Johnny, wait for me, Johnny, little Johnny. Actually, no, these are Holy Roman Empire, so it'd be like, Gustav, wait for me. Sorry. All right, Holy Roman Men-at-Arms continuing to chase down those archers. They're going to have an absolute field day down there. A little bit of an attack out towards Mister's base. We are in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. Vortex pushing in with a massive amount of units right now, taking out villagers as he comes in. Men-at-Arms also going to be coming out for his opponent, but look at the crossbow mass that is, or Arbalètrier mass that's built up here for Mr. Not going to be very sufficient here, so a very smart move from his opponent, Vortex, to come in with this mass right now. My main concern is that he doesn't have any upgrades, does have the blacksmith back here, does obviously have the movement speed upgrade, but he's going to be able to continue chasing these Arbalètrier around. They don't have a particularly fast movement speed, so he is going to be able to take them down. And it looks like a blacksmith finally going to be coming down for Mr. We'll check from his perspective and see exactly what's happening, but more Men-at-Arms beginning to come in. I think this might be game. Honestly, Mr. not looking very good at this point in time. 20 villagers inside the town center. He's only got 56 villagers, so it means that he is sitting right now on the equivalent of 36 villagers. Compare that to his opponent, who's on 43 with the 2 relics in the back. Do not forget that. So there is a huge difference between these 2 players, and we continue to see that he's actually worked his way through these Men-at-Arms impressively well. I'm surprised. I was just calling good game, and already he's managed to hold on to the position. Men-at-Arms have pretty much dwindled completely. Looks like he's going to be going with the Guildhall on food for the moment. Makes a lot of sense. We hear a sacred site being captured up towards the east of the map, and still yet to challenge any of these forward positions at this stage, and Men-at-Arms now beginning to push forward and looking to actually take out these outposts while the military is away. But I definitely want to say Vortex looking like he has equalized it pretty well. Men-at-Arms, you know, a lot of people say that these guys probably need to get looked at with regard to balance, but obviously the Arbalètrier demonstrating, you know, why they are considered to be the best crossbow in the game. No upgrades for them yet, so they don't have any of those unique upgrades that we love to see them get. Things like the Pavis shield and obviously the crossbow strips. Actually, I think he just literally got the upgrade. No? Maybe he's just researching it. Yeah, okay. So he's getting Gambesons. Increases the Arbalètrier melee armor by 5. That is crazy. Can you believe that? 5 armor. Think about that, right? Like, you're doing 13 damage here. 6 versus heavy, but these guys aren't heavy. These are light. So take that. What was it? Was it 13 or something? Hold on. How much? What's the damage? 14 damage now. Versus these guys. Let's say they get +2, and then they get the 5. That's 7 armor. Like, they're doing 50% damage against a unit that they should be completely crushing. Any other archer, they would be crushing them completely. Or any other crossbow, rather. But in this situation, that doesn't seem like it. But now Vortex going for the fabled composition. The Mangonel plus Men-at-Arm combo. A very difficult to counter combo. So we'll see from Mr. probably some... what am I thinking? Some Springalds shortly. I don't know whether he got line of sight of that Mangonel. I think he might have, actually. I don't think I've changed player perspective, but I haven't turned on or off line of sight. You can see there, and I think it did come forward up to this position. So he may have knowledge of that, and as a result, we may potentially see a Siege Workshop come down shortly. But we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Another outpost going to be coming out, providing some line of sight. It looks like it was neutralized, the sacred site up towards the east of the map. Players all over the map, and just a random Arbalètrier just sitting out here, just waiting. Another Spearman doing the same thing. These guys standing barely meters apart, but miles away, if you know what I mean. But now it looks like some villagers going to get found. No outpost for them to jump into. All these bad boys going to get completely murdered. Very unfortunate there for Vortex. So a great little pickup for his opponent, Mr. Now, when it comes to this game and when it comes to scaling in this game, scaling is definitely one of those words that you've got to be careful of using. And in this context, I would say that when it comes to scaling, that the French is probably going to scale more effectively than the Holy Roman Empire. And you might be like, well, Drongo, why the heck is that? And that's because of the Royal Knight. And I'm sure you might be wondering, well, what the heck does the Royal Knight have to do with a scaling economy? Well, it really comes down to population efficiency. And the propensity to use the Royal Knight, very common with the French. Obviously, it's one of their unique units. It's one of the best units in the game. And Mangonel's got to be careful now. Mangonel's actually going to be getting torched down here by the scouts. Huge misplay by Vortex. Manages to get a single shot off towards the infantry mass of his opponent, but still a huge misplay. A lot of scouts coming out here. I'm curious as to whether we actually saw professional scouts. I'm just going to quickly check. We didn't actually see professional scouts. He's just gotten these scouts out as anti-siege, I'm suspecting. We talked about the possibility that he might go into Springwoods. Nah, doesn't need to. He's got scouts. Of course. The scouts will do the work that you need. But when it comes to the late game, you've got to remember that the French have obviously got that villager bonus, and if he's able to keep his opponent in the third age, away from that Palace of Swabia, then he's going to be absolutely fine because he will eventually catch up in villages, and he will eventually overtake his opponent. The French bonus is a massive bonus, and even though he's got those 2 relics in the bag, and he's happy with them, it works out to be roughly, I'm going to say, about 16, maybe 15 villages. Actually, I'm going to go with 15 villages on the dot. I think a relic works out to be 7.5 villages. So yeah, 7.5, 15, 22.5. So we'll go with 15 villages. So if you do the math right now, it's 66 villages, 67 for the villagers, for the Mister, almost nice. So 67 for him versus 48. But then you add the 15 on that, and you're talking about 63, 64 villages. And so you can already see that France is outscaling already, and it's going to just continue to get worse for the remainder of the game. Got to be careful. This Mangonel probably going to go down. He actually ran it in the wrong direction, so he needed to run it back towards the men-at-arms, through the men-at-arms. He does have a villager out here healing. He's managing to get a pretty good amount of healing on it, but it looks like the scouts are actually going to be able to go down before the heals come off for the second Mangonel. There's no way that bad boy is surviving. It does go down. A nice little block coming in here from the men-at-arms, but unfortunately, very nice micro there from Mister, doing a great job behind this. On the other hand, though, we can see the Arbiter Trio, just how many archer units are out here as well, just doing a huge amount of damage. And look at the line of sight that Mister is starting to begin building up around the map now with this outpost out. He's looking incredibly strong. Second milk's coming in on the back line, obviously for a few deer or berries or whatever it was back there. But now we can see that it really comes to a point where the upgrades are going to make a significant difference. And it's really going to be about misplays and not making misplays. So we've already lost 2 Mangonels to a huge misplay that happened, I think, was it right about here? We lost a 3rd Mangonel that was... I mean, we almost lost a 4th Mangonel as well, which was also a misplay. So Vortex is just going to be a little bit more careful with his Mangonel placement. If I could make a recommendation to him, it would be put your units in the line formation. They're going to create a line that is impassable, so enemy units can't get through it. And then you can put them out in a nice, broad fashion in front of your Mangonels. They're going to be absolutely fine. They're going to be nice and safe. And that's probably your best option in this situation. That way you can build up that nice little line. The other tip would be make sure you got villagers nearby, because these guys are going to need all the healing that they can get. But down towards this southern position, it looks like Mister has been completely shut down. He doesn't have a lot of line of sight anymore around the base of his opponent. Doesn't look like he's looking to age up at the moment. 74 villagers now for him. Has he got a second town center out? First town center is up. It doesn't look like the second town center is up just yet for him, but you guys know how I feel about that. You guys know I'm blind, but now we see the scouts running in. Men-at-arms doing a mistake. He is absolutely not screened appropriately for these Mangonels. He's going to try and race up some villagers. Mangonels are going to be able to get off some amazing shots on these backlines, actually, so he's not doing absolutely terribly, but he's got to be so careful against these. But the scout's going to be coming through, managing to take out what appear to be about 2 Mangonels. I have to double check. We'll have to go to the tapes and have a look, but I can definitely see there's 1 Mangonel on the ground there. I think there might be a second one under there as well, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll just call it 1 for now, though. But all those scouts do go down. So yeah, a little bit of a misplay. So typically, like, I wish I could bring out the paint right now or draw on the screen. You know what? I need to get a drawing on the screen program. Oh my god, I just thought about it right then. We need that. I need to be able to draw, like, okay, you can see Chuck. Okay, Chuck, you can see he's got the mangonels down here. His men-at-arms were just sitting in this lower position. The scouts were running into the north. What he needed to do was move his men-at-arms up to screen for the mangonels. That would have enabled him to keep them alive for a little bit longer, get the villagers in a position, and preserve that last mangonel that unfortunately lost its life today. Thank you, Chuck. all right, that's enough. That's enough with Chuck. But Mangonel's getting out another shot. So yeah, I mean, we missed that shot that the Mangonels did on the Arbalatrier, but I'm sure it was definitely worth its weight in gold. But speaking of worth their weight in gold, these scouts continuing to posture. He's got to be so careful of these, and he knows it. You can actually see he's going for Horseman now. I suspect this Horseman movement is designed to counter the Arbalatrier, because obviously he knows that the Mangonels, it's only a matter of time until they do get taken out by scouts, or the scout gets taken out by them. How many villagers has he got in there? 4 villagers. That's a great number. So typically what he wants to be doing, moving up with mangonels, moving up with making outposts. But once again, caught out of position here. Vortex not looking pretty as we enter into the cinematic mode. The mangonels are going to be trying to get healed up. You can see them doing their best, but he's done a great job in splitting them up, and you can see how quickly they managed to siege through those mangonels. No amount of villagers is going to keep that safe, and now it means that they do turn their attention onto the horsemen, and those scouts managed to get away scot-free. I mean, a couple of them died, but let's be real. That's a wonderful trade right there for Mister. He's feeling very good for himself. Now, behind all this, we did actually see the final relic for the Regnitz Cathedral coming in for Vortex. He's got to be very happy with himself, picking that up from the middle of the map. So, I'll be honest, a little bit of a failure from Mister. Ideally, when he gets up to the 3rd age, that should be something that he considers. He should really be thinking, okay, well, what can I do to inhibit my opponent? What can I do to prevent them from winning? Well, I don't want them to capture any relics. You know, just in the same way that you neutralize this sacred site, you should also be thinking about capturing the relics that your opponent has yet to capture. So, always important to be thinking about that. But now up towards the north, it looks like we may see a potential jostle for position as Vortex tries to run around the outside. He's going to get spotted by the scouts. You can see the line of sight difference between the scout and the horseman. The horsemen are literally running through the forest blind, whereas the scouts, they get to see in a little bit further. But now the horsemen are going to be coming through those forests. A bit of a raid coming over. No, it's just some archers, but at the same time, look at the trap coming down right now. The master of the trap, Mister, does a beautiful job of tracking these horsemen through. He says, you are not coming through this way, my friend. The road is closed today. Pool's closed. You guys remember that meme from, what was it, 2008? Pool's closed. Habbo Hotel. Good times. Good times. I can't believe I brought that up. Oh gosh, that was not appropriate. Anyway, Vortex, on the other hand, he is going to be slowly but steadily getting wound down. That's really the way I feel about it. So when it comes to, you know, what he wants to be doing, he doesn't want to be making military at this point. He wants to be ideally getting up to the 4th age, and you've got to start asking the question, well, what's the best way to do that? You've got your mangonels here. I might actually think that it's time to start boxing them in. And if you're unaware of what the box is, this is something that came about in Age of Empires 4. Oh, sorry, Age of Empires 3. A little bit of a raid coming in here, picking up a juicy villager. Unsuccessful survive there from her. But yeah, so what you do is you box your artillery or your siege into a box of walls. So this was popularized by a player of the name Mashed Potato 72. And what he would do is he would actually just push over the entire map with just walls and artillery, or walls and siege. And so he would put a box down of walls, just one wall here, one wall there, one wall like that, one wall there, put his artillery inside it, and you couldn't kill it unless you had the counter to it at range. So that was it. Like, you would need, in this case, you would need springlets. But it would mean in this situation where you've got people like the Mister, who are you know, continually coming in, raiding, and trying to hit those mangonels just every single time, then it really creates this difficult dynamic for him if those walls exist, because it means that he's not going to be able to kill them. But now we see the counter to that anyway. He's not going to have to bother with a box at all, unless he wants to go for a stonewall box. It'd be a little bit harder, but technically the mangonel can fire over the springalds. But now up towards the north, or towards the east rather, we see a bit of a push coming in, and an overchop. Oh no, it's not. Please don't tell me that's an overchop right there on the corner. I think that might be an overchop. I'm trying to look. I'm trying to see. That's got to be an overchop. That's surely an overchop right there. I think you could just run through there, Mister, if you wanted to. But up towards the north, it looks like he's repelling a scout. And down, we've got a little bit of action all over the map, it seems. And now those scouts and horsemen, those knights as well. Actually, no, it's just horsemen. Oh, it's just scouts and knights now coming through. And that raid does get cleaned up down here towards this this central position. He's got the double gold mine out, and looks like he's going to be unsuccessfully being able to push through here. We'll check in on Vortix. We'll see how he's doing. Still no Age 4 yet coming through for Vortix. And this is really bad because the whole idea with the Holy Roman Empire is that to hit your Exodia, you need to pick up the 3 legs of Exodia, which we're not going to talk too much in detail about, they being the relics. And he has done that. But the 4th part of Exodia, the chest, the head, whatever you want to call it, it is getting to the 4th age. It is getting that Palace of Swabia. And that is something that he hasn't been able to do. And he's going to be at a disadvantage until he does that. Because as we mentioned before, scaling. So Vortix here currently sits on 67 villages. His opponent sits on 82. So there's a disadvantage there. Now, keep in mind, he's got the 3 relics, so we'll call it 22.5 villages. So he's not doing terribly, actually. Sitting on the equivalent of about 90 villages versus the 83 from the Mister. So I'm suspecting that either he's been raided and we may have missed it. I mean, we do obviously see this raid down here. Either that or he just stopped training villagers for some time. But knowing the Mister, knowing the quality of him as a player, I suspect it's probably not going to be the former. Probably going to be the later. So I think that we've missed a raid somewhere. But now pushing over towards his opponent's base, a massive amount of units here on the front line. He's got 46 Arbalatriae out here, 7 melee armor. That's a lot of armor. That is a lot of armor. Springwood's getting their shots off, trying their best. They actually managed to one-shot that Mangonel. Those Mango's going to have to fall back now as the horsemen come out. He's not paying attention. Mister's got to wake himself up. There we go. He's fallen asleep at the keyboard, but he's managed to get the memo just in time. We'll enter into the cinematic mode as we begin to watch the horsemen and the scouts melt away at those Springalds. The Mangonels on fire, unloading their blast towards the crossbows, or the Arbalatriae not having a lot of success. A huge amount of Royal Knights coming in here as well. You can see them just all over the battlefield without any real intention. 2 Mangonels remaining. They're a little bit curious as to what direction they want to go. They're getting some nice shots off. We have a look, and beautiful shots on those Mangonels. Second Springald now coming out, and it looks like Vortix actually in a great position here. He's mixing in some spears, appreciating that his enemy has brought out a lot of Royal Knights to the party today, and that he wants to challenge them with his large rod. So going to be able to do that well. Now that he's won a battle from here, I would say for Vortix, the most important thing you can do is think about getting up to the next age, because that's quite a decisive win. So try and get up to the next age as quickly as possible if you can. You've got 2,600 gold in the bank, so maybe buy 800 stone. Drop yourself a castle or a keep right here. Keep yourself alive for a little bit longer and then get yourself up to the next age. That's what you could be looking at to try and keep yourself in this game, because when it comes to this game, it's all about scaling. It's all about getting to that late game. I want to see you with 130 villages. I want to see you just pumping out units non-stop. Elite horsemen, elite spears, elite men-at-arms, all that good stuff. That's what you need to be doing. So hopefully that's something that we see. We can see that he's actually dropped down quite a fair bit of his gold. He's bought something with it. I don't know whether he's got a market. We'd have to double check on it. He could have just invested a whole lot in units. Indeed he has. He's dropped down 3 Mangonels in this bad boy, so that is quite a lot of Mangonels planning to come out. 2 forward siege workshops here for the Mister. Could be potentially considered a misplacement. I mean, at the time, going into that fight, I didn't think that Mister was going to lose that fight. It definitely looked like a fight that Vortix was going to lose. But now it seems that Mister is in a bit of a position where there's a bit of a concern, because he's got 85 villages, 29 military. Compare that over to his opponent, who's sitting on 69 villages. Nice. Plus the 22.5, so we'll call it 91. But he's on a much larger military amount, 51. So more than, or almost double the amount of military at this point. So there is definitely a window for Vortix to get up to the next age. He's got all the gold that he needs. He just needs to get that food in. We'll check his upgrades. Oh my god, a massive misplay coming out from Vortix. We've seen these players go for age 1, so dark age wheelbarrows, and yet here we are sitting 34 minutes into a game, and Vortix, with 31 farmers, doesn't have his wheelbarrow, doesn't have horticulture, doesn't have fertilization. These 3 technologies alone would make such a huge difference to his economy. It would be a world's difference for him. It is so unfortunate to see that even at the top level, players like Vortix managing to forget that. On the other side, Mr. obviously picking up Wheelbarrow, does have his fertilization and his horticulture both in. So his economy looking pretty decent. He's got 23 villagers on food at the moment, but keep in mind his villager count is honestly quite low for France at this point in the game. Typically, you would have expected them to add a second town center by about the 20-minute mark. Hasn't been the way that it has gone today. So both players just playing that one town center. But obviously he's got the access to the guild hall here as well. You can see he's recently taken out of it. We don't know exactly how much it was that he took out of it. A bit of a raid coming up here towards the north. Going to get repelled here by the veteran horsemen. They're going to be able to deal out quite a sufficient amount of damage towards these Royal Knights. I don't think they'll actually take them down though, and they do actually fall back. So they'll live to see another day. But Mangonel's going to be coming out here for Mister. And I like this play, honestly. Just going for counter Mangonels. If he wants to, I would honestly just go for about 7 or 8 Mangonels, and then 3 Springalds. The Springalds, you just focus down your enemy Mangonels, and your 8 Mangonels, you focus down the men-at-arms, and you will one-shot them. It's even better if you can do it from Fog of War. So wait for your enemy to push out. But obviously, you're playing against the Holy Roman Empire. You got to really ask that question, do you want to wait for them? Typically, the answer is no. You don't want to wait for the Holy Roman Empire, because if you wait for them, they're probably just going to go up to the 4th age. But still, we don't see that 4th age coming out from Vortix. So I'm starting to feel like this is a bit of a misplay on his part. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube. Let me know what you think. I'm genuinely curious. I feel like had he gone for that age 4 play, there was a very high potential that he was going to be able to win. He had the Mangonels in there to support it, just in case there was a push that came through. Very easily could have gotten down that castle, and I don't think there would have been anything that Mr. would have been able to do to stop that. Obviously, if he spots the castle, he can get out some trebuchets, but they're incredibly expensive, and it's going to take time to get through them. But now it looks like Mr. going to get pushed on here as Vortix begins unloading his rocks, his stones, upon the enemy forces, and we can see the Mangonels getting grouped up down here towards his position. He's actually done a great job in splitting them. He's got 3 down up on this west part, 2 over on the right-hand side. They do get taken out. There goes 2 so far. A 3rd one going to get taken out, and overwhelmingly, it looks like Vortix, his military is over on this side where he's pushed in, but he's lost all of his Mangonels. The Springald investment has been significant for him, and it means he's got a lot of units that are left that cost a lot, but don't really do much. So this is where it sort of comes down to the question, are the Springalds really worth it when you've got units like the Scout that have recently been buffed, much stronger when you've got Royal Knights, you've got Horsemen that can come out and they can do the sieging for you, and then once the fight is finished, they can actually do something afterwards as well. They can, whether it's be tank damage, but you think about it, right? Like, you've got a Scout that costs 70 resources, and you've got a Springald that costs 500. So you could buy, I'm just going to do some math, 5 times 7, that's 35. So you could buy 7. 7 times 7 is 490. 7 Scouts or 1 Springald. What would you prefer? I would definitely take the Scouts in that scenario. But now we can see that the Mangonels are continuing to unfold. Got to be careful here. A lot of Arbalatriae looking to potentially get taken out. Some Mangonels are actually firing on the building rather than the units behind it. They're looking to change their direction as they head out towards this position, but once again, it looks like Mr. going to be on the back foot. You can see him just pumping out units non-stop, sitting down at 61. We'll have a look at his production, see what it looks like at the moment. We can see he's got 4 stables, the School of Cavalry, so 5 in total. Archery ranges, he's got 4. He's got 1 barracks and the 2 siege workshops on the front line. So he's going to be able to pump out those reinforcements non-stop here. But the difficult thing for him is that Vortix is just doing incredibly well at just holding this position and forcing Mr. back. We see just how many units have been taken out here repeatedly. So once again, I think I've missed a whole bunch of deaths, but you guys can definitely see the crossbows on the ground, the Arbalatriae on the ground, now the siege workshop. He's getting punished significantly for committing to this. So had these been down further, he would not be anchoring to this, and now just losing straight away those 2 units, which, you know, add up to 1,200 resources right there on the front line, just vanishing in thin air. So a little bit of a mistake there from Mr. Vortix, definitely on the front foot now. From his perspective, he's on 84 villages, add the 22, so we're talking about 106 villages right now. Keep in mind, we are adding that 22 just because he's got the Regnitz Cathedral with the 900 gold a minute. That's giving him that extra gold trickle, and it's the equivalent of 22 villages in there. It says 600 gold a minute. I don't know why it does that. It's not. It's actually 900 gold a minute. You can see it right there. So if you're wondering why, yes, that 900 gold a minute is the equivalent of 22 base villages. And let's be honest, when it comes to the upgrades, I mean, Vortex is running base villages at this point, isn't he? Yeah, he's running base villages absolutely everywhere. Not a single economic upgrade coming out of Vortex. You hate to see it, and I can't believe he's still managing to pull out a pretty darn good-looking victory at this point. I am genuinely impressed when it comes to how Vortex has done this. The fact that France has been able to scale and still be in a position. I mean, the Mister has had control of this game the entire way through. We're currently 39 minutes through. Vortex never got up to the 4th age. He fought it out in the 3rd age completely. And he still somehow managed to hold. He never used the Regnitz Cathedral. He didn't use the chest of Exodia. When he had it in his back pocket, he could have thrown it out. There was a big fight that he won. He had plenty of time, plenty of space, a lot of resources in the bank where he could have very easily got it, but he didn't even need to. He's been able to convert the existing military mass that he's got, and now he's begun to turn it towards his opponent. We can see that Mister having a lot of trouble rebuilding this mass. Not enough Royal Knights down here, and these maces just doing so well on the men-at-arms. You can see they've got all of the upgrades. They've got 16 attack on them, 6/6 armor. They've got the +6 heavy. They've probably got that movement speed buff as well. They definitely have that movement speed buff as well, because I think they're doing 1.24 versus the 1.15, which is the standard. Indeed, they are. And now Mister looking like he's in an increasingly difficult position. 132 population at the moment for him versus the 171 of Vortex. Mister trying to turn the tides with a couple of raids back towards the base. Not going to have a lot of luck. He's 77 villages for his enemy, so sitting at about 100, including the relics. And yeah, not having a whole lot of luck. It looks like the wall segments have been opened. A little bit of an overchop. When I say a little bit of an overchop, I'm just talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trees. So just a little bit of an overchop there. But back towards the base of Mister is where the real trouble is going to be had, because you can see now Vortex is angry. You have pissed him off, my friend, and he's begun to siege down that town center. Not a lot of health on that. I mean, there's 7,000 health, but when you've got that many mangonels, there's not a lot of health. Trust me. Villagers now. Oh, no. Oh, the poor villagers. I bet they don't even have their textiles upgrade, do they? Oh, they do. They do. All right. Well, textiles didn't make a difference today. Who would have thought it? Textiles. Who would have thought a little bit of leather would save you against these stones? Well, I did, but I quickly learned my lesson. And now it looks like, I mean, I can't see any way that Mister's going to be able to win this game. He's just in an unfortunate position. It's never a good spot, never an enviable spot to be when you've got men-at-arms and mangonels in your base roaming around killing you. He tried valiantly this game. He really did his best, but unfortunately, it looks like this game is going to close out. Mister taps out, says good game, calls an end to it, and that takes the score to 2-1 with Vortex in the lead as we head towards N4C, the final set.